Hello and welcome to the Falco community call. Today is March 25th, and we're going to be going through some agenda items, talking about a few things today. My internet here, I mentioned this earlier, but in case you're just joining, my internet, because of everybody working from home, is kind of going in and out. So Lorenzo is going to be screen sharing. I have audio on my phone. I'll do my best to MC, but if for some reason I drop, feel free somebody else just to jump in and keep the call going without me. So the first agenda item this week, highlights. We didn't really have any major highlights this week. I think it's been kind of a triaging week for Falco, and we cut the release last week, and we've just been dealing with a lot of issues with getting Falco up and running, and there's been a few conversations in Slack. So no major feature work this week so far. For the agenda items, the first one is mine. Looks like I have the first few here, so I'll probably just rant for a bit and then I'll shut up and let folks join. Update on the BPF and API working group. It looks like we've had 4 people actually go through and fill out the doodle. The one that was the winner was Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 hour after right now. So the end of this call would be when the BPF call would start, and that would be on Thursdays. If anybody else wants to go vote, we can, before we send out an email, feel free to go vote. And, or if that time just blatantly does not work for someone who feels like they want to get involved, feel free to let me know. But if not, I'll probably...
Does it start today or next Thursday?
I was thinking we should start next Thursday. So that would be 9 days from now.
Okay, thank you.
Or wait, no, 8 days from now.
Next Thursday.
Yeah, thanks. And then again, this is to talk about a new BPF implementation, the inputs API, and a lot of the proposals we've been talking about probably since last KubeCon, I think. And that'll just be another working group, just like the build working group that we just had. And I'm happy to do the doodles and docs to get, I love saying that, doodles and docs, but I'm happy to do all that to get all that going. And then, any volunteers to help run this or drive this and help us bring this to life would be helpful. I'll probably tweet about it and see if there's folks on the internet who are interested in getting involved with writing BPF code, which I think there's quite a few people interested here. And yeah, we'll get going next Thursday. Anything else on that one? Questions from anyone? Cool. Next item, ETA on having the driver downloads fixed. So yeah, I was looking at my Falco emails, I think either yesterday or the day before, and there were a few questions in Falco. So we used to traditionally publish drivers in an S3 bucket, and Falco was smart enough to go and download those. And I think we're trying to mirror that same functionality in Circle CI, right?
We are doing, so Circle CI is building the probes, and we will publish them on the new package repository that we have. So it's just a matter of finishing it, and we are working on it.
Yeah, we are working on a fix. There's a bug about Docker, something unrelated with the probes.
It should be already working, but there's a bug. Yes.
Okay. Do we think we'll have this for the next Falco release?
Yeah, we should.
Definitely.
Because also in the next Falco release, we need to change the URL where the probe loader that now is called driver loader will go and download the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said they're going to be, where are they going to be hosted, on Bintray?
Yes.
Yeah. On a generic repository, which is already existing for hosting BPF probes and kernel modules. Okay.
There are some of them already there, but the mechanism that puts everything together is not working.
No, I removed the one that the test that we made with.
Okay.
The repository is not there, but
And until we get this installed, what is our course of action that we should be telling folks if they have questions about getting the probes or the driver installed?
There are many ways to get around this. Well, the easiest one is to just downgrade Falco, but it might not work for everyone because they might be wanting to use a new operating system version that was not built for downgraded version. The downgrade will be to 0.71, which is quite old and has memory leaks. So this is the first one. The second is, as Chris was writing, use driver kit to build for your specific kernel. The driver kit repository has very detailed instructions on how to do it. Or build from source, like in the documentation, there's the build from source documentation, so people can just build it themselves. But yes, it's it's gonna be fixed, but it's a bit painful now. I'm sorry to everyone.
No, it's okay. I think everybody will be excited for 0.22, and it looks like we have courses of action that can get people to what they want with the most recent releases. And then the stream I did, 2 nights ago on Monday night, shows how to work around this using the Debian packages in Ubuntu and EC2 Linux, or I'm sorry, in EC2, not EC2 Linux, in Ubuntu.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, so if anybody just wants to see an example of how to do that, I can get a timestamp in my stream and we can just show people the video.
That's a good
anything
idea.
else? Anything else on Circle CI and Bentray and the drivers?
We are building a new the support for Amazon Linux into Amazon Linux 2 into driver kit, but I put a point below. So
okay.
We just started today, but we are already in good shape. So soon we will support Amazon to do, because the survey was, the survey results were showing Amazon Linux 2 like one of the most required.
Okay. Oh, so speaking of these survey results, I'm going to bring this up for my next issue, but somebody mentioned a new operating system, a new container operating system. Did we include that in the survey?
Not the Rocket, right?
Yeah, I think it was Rocket. It was Dan MX was the name of the person on GitHub. Let me see if I can.
I talked with past week.
Okay.
But
I've never even heard of this operating system before. I think is it the fork of CoreOS?
I don't know. I just look at a bit at the issues and talk a bit with him, and I put on a post-it.
You mean Flatcar? Sorry.
No,
nope. It's Rocket. Leo was right.
Rocket. Okay. It's someone required to build kernel models for Rocket, and he wrote me a message. We will look at it, but not top priority right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to add it to the notes. So there's the issue where he mentioned it, and then there's a link to the GitHub repo for the OS he suggested, or I'm assuming it's a he, but the person suggested. So yeah.
I really like the name of that operating system.
Bottle Rocket. I like it. Okay, which I think with driver kit, it's pretty simple to open up a PR, just like you're doing right now with EC2 Linux, Leo. So we might be even able to open up an issue for a good first issue for somebody to PR this. Cool. Anything else?
On the driver kit side, I forgot to put the point into the document, but basically like an exercise. But I'm trying to also create, give it support for Linux kit kernels I've been able to build kernel modules and BPF probes for Linux kit, and also to run them, but to run them with a plain Linux kit, not Linux kit, for example, that Docker for Mac uses, because since Linux kit uses GCC plugin run struct, they basically at building time generate a seed, then gets put into the version magic of the kernel module. So if the seed is not the same, you can't load the kernel module. I'm talking with the Docker for Desktop people to solve this either in that repository in their tool chain or in the Linux kit, because the real problem is in the Linux kit Docker image that builds the kernel. And that's it.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Proposal for Falco build artifacts. So I opened up an issue. It's Falco issues 1114. Now that the build and infra group is coming to an end, and it looks like we're about to have Circle CI up and running for the next release, we're pretty much done with our build refactor, which, real quick, thank you so much, everybody on the build and infra team, for doing this. This was a huge win for Falco. So one of the things in the proposal that I just wanted to bring up here is starting to look as a project at a concept of which artifacts do we officially support. And support is a pretty special word in my mind, because this implies that we agree to not only build these things, but we agree to support them over time. And if something goes wrong, if there's a bug or a CVE or an instability, as an open source project and as a community, we have officially, decided that we are going to prioritize these concerns moving forward. I think it's very important for us to be clear about which artifacts are official and which ones we just document for the sake of having a single source of truth. So if folks get time to go and look at the issue and give it some thought, I'd love to hear your feedback, but based on what we're building now and the survey results, I did my best to document what I think would be the bare minimum, like the lowest common denominator set of artifacts for us as a project to support, and then have a list of third-party integrations, third-party artifacts, third-party resources that we can certainly link to in the documentation, but these would be things that we have not agreed as an open source project to support. So yeah, thoughts, feedback would be great there. The one thing that I noticed about my proposal that was something that I think we as a community should start thinking about, what do we want as a project to be our officially supported way to install Falco with Kubernetes? And we have a Falco operator right now. We have a Helm chart. We have static manifests. We have Falco CTL. Again, these are, there's a lot to support there if we try to support all of this. So, at some point we should probably make a decision on one to be our single officially supported way, and then just have pointers and documentation on the others for people who choose to go a different route. And I don't have a good answer to that right now. So again, thoughts and feedback would be helpful. Just bringing things up for folks to start thinking about as we march forward with the build and release here. The other thing that I would also like to bring up is, as part of the release process right now, we're only supporting the Falco artifacts, which are getting Falco up and running, having a driver, and documentation on how to get Falco up and running. I noticed we cut a release of the Falco exporter. We have yet to do a release of Falco CTL, and these are just more things to start thinking about as we look at growing the build and release process of Falco. And these are all problems that we faced in Kubernetes, which is how do we start releasing other parts of Kubernetes? Does it become part of the official release cycle? Are they ad hoc? All of these things, if we don't have issues for them yet, I'll probably open issues. And I would like to, over the next handful of weeks, I'd like to come to some consensus around all of this stuff. So yeah, just setting the stage here. No decisions made right now. We'll put it in issues, but if anybody has any thoughts, we would love to hear them. Cool.
Cool.
Lore, you're next.
So I will be very fast. There's an issue on Falco talking about the fact that when you run Falco on a kernel 419 using eBPF, it will, in some circumstances, it will soft lock the kernel. This means that the kernels start soft locking the CPUs, and when all of them start being soft locked, eventually there's a kernel panic. I've been working with Leo, and I've been working with other people at CSDIC. I've been working with other people at the kernel maintainers group of the BPF subsystem, and we probably found the root cause of this. But compiling lots of kernels and testing them requires time. But this is probably resides in a bug in the kernel 419 series that is also mainline now.
Sure.
That is already known by the mailing list, so we can talk about it. And also, there's not a patch for it yet. So we might just, we have two outcomes from this. The first is helping out in, creating a patch for this kernel 419s, since we have an eBPF program that 100% of the times crashes it.
Okay.
The second thing we can do is that we protect our users on kernel 419 by not allowing them to call that function that crashes the kernel. But this is only if
what impact would it have? What's this function doing? Just to understand, is it like a core part of our module, or is it like an accessory function?
It's a function that when you this is all based on my opinions and on my findings. I still have to validate it, but what I think that happens is that when you do some set of syscalls that need to parse an AF socket, it will try to transform some data from one form to another using a function in the kernel. Sorry,
what's the name of the
function?
So this is if I remember well, that impacts fillers like connect, accept, stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And when that happens, it starts building up a stack that never gets flushed, and that results in the soft lock from the kernel. Looks like this has been around since 4.17, probably, but still I don't have any.
4.16 happened to us.
Sorry, didn't hear you, Leo.
Say it again.
On 4.16, we tried on 4.16 the other day, and also on that series soft lock.
I don't remember trying on 4.16. Maybe you. Okay, I only tried with 4.19 myself, but.
So this is a pretty limited and contained part of the module, but my assumption is Falco would not operate properly without that functionality, right? Because all of the network rules would miss important state, because that essentially is used to reconstruct the tuple. Is that right?
Yes, that means that one of the things we could do to keep the functionality is to try to do what the function does without using that function.
Okay, yeah. Have you by any chance checked with Gianluca about this?
Not yet. It's a thing of like 2 hours ago, but I will probably
because
involve him.
Maybe you can give us a recommendation. Gianluca, for everybody else, is the original author of the eBPF module.
Program.
So
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's it. I just want to update everyone because there might be someone here using Falco on 4.19, especially people running on GKE and stuff. So just be aware of this until we fix it.
Where are the BPF subsystem contributors and maintainers? Where does that conversation happen? And is it all in the LKML or is there an IRC somewhere?
There are conversations happening in LKML. I don't know how to pronounce it with a very good English accent. And there are conversations happening in email threads between me and the maintainers because they want to make sure that my findings that are not in the issue yet are not another kernel bug that they don't know. So before disclosing it, and that's why I didn't tell anyone here the specific function yet, like publicly here. That's because it might be that that's another issue, that it's not disclosed yet, and we don't want to, create a 0 day before someone can fix stuff. So
good job, Lotta.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Next, we have Leo. I think Amazon 2 driver kit.
I already talked about that. Basically, we started bringing support for it in driver kit. Nothing more. Just an announcement.
Okay, let us know if there's a PR we need to look at.
Not yet a PR, but soon, probably by the end of the day.
Okay, sounds good. And I think you have the next one too.
And I already talked a bit about these two. I'm working also on Linux Kit support for building a Falco kernel module and Falco BPF probe. I've been able, but the problem is that the way that they build the way that basically there's this GCC plugin, run struct, that randomizes the position of fields in the structs with a seed. Every time you build it, it changes. And if you build the kernel module to be inserted must have the same seed. Which means that I've been able to use it on plain Linux Kit, but for other systems, for example, Docker for desktop, Docker for Mac, that running using Linux Kit, since it's another build of Linux Kit, same kernel version, same toolchain, but another build, they have another seed, and we can't insert the Falco module in that case. And I'm talking the folks of Docker for desktop to find a solution, or in Docker for desktop, or where the real problem is Linux Kit. I have to talk with Justin Cormack to get him to put the right hash in the Linux Kit Docker image.
Okay.
So did they give you the hash now, Leo? Sorry.
The problem is that the hash of the Linux Kit Docker image is wrong.
Okay,
but
it's
the wrong hash?
Give us the hash for mobile.
Sorry?
They will give us the hash for Docker for Mac, or they will not?
There's already there was already an issue in Linux Kit about this for others that needed to build their own kernel module, and basically they closed the issue. I don't know why. So probably I will go with another path that I have in mind on the Docker for desktop side, like creating another target, which is for Docker for desktop, and use their Docker images, build our kernel module, and because their Docker image will contain the same seed of run struct that you have in Docker for Mac.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
And then Linux Kit, you can use like bringing a Linux Kit up with Linux Kit and inserting the Falco module, the other target. But if they don't fix the image, we can fix that.
And this is for both BPF and the kernel module?
Yes. In reality, you can use BPF. BPF doesn't need the seed of run struct, but for the kernel module, you need it. To insert it, you need.
Okay. Cool. Well, let us know if there's anything we can help out there. I'm sure there's a lot of folks here who are excited for this.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay. Next one, the Artifact Hub with Matt.
Hi, folks. Thanks for having me. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the Artifact Hub, which has come up. I sent something out to the mailing list and there's an issue on it, but I wanted to come and talk with you all about it. For those of you who don't know or aren't familiar, the Artifact Hub, its goal is to try to make discovery of cloud native artifacts a lot easier. What initially came to mind for the folks who were behind it were Helm charts and operators. But in my mind, that also extended to other things. I learned at the conference in San Diego that OPA wanted to also have artifacts distributed and shared. And I learned about the Cloud Native Security Hub while I was there. And so the artifacts that you have seem like something else that should be made readily accessible to folks. And I know you're already trying to do that. And one of the problems was, how do you do this in a way for people who may not know about the Security Hub, or it would be useful to stumble across it along when they're looking for other things as well. And so that's kind of the goal of the Artifact Hub, is simply to make things discoverable. And really, I wanted to just bring it up, try to answer any questions people have about it, and offer up an opportunity to give feedback on it. I'm not asking for contributions or work on it. I know you all are already very, very busy, but that's what I'm here for. The design of it, for those of you who don't know, is it's a kind of a metadata repository and a cache and a search. It points to things that live in other places, but it's a central point of search, because with so many things distributed all over the internet, it can be difficult to find them. And the idea is not to be a replacement for that, or something like Docker Hub that stores the artifacts. If any of you are familiar with something like Packagist from the PHP community, which is just a metadata search. In fact, I haven't looked at it lately, but I think if its cache got wiped out, it could just be rebuilt, because it's just a regularly updated cache and search. More than anything else, and a registration process to register where things are at to be searched and displayed. And one of the things that is being done is to have Falco artifacts be discoverable and redirect back to where those are. And so that's really rough. This is not practiced. So I'm happy to answer any questions or things like that.
Can you show us what you have so far?
I certainly can. Can I share my screen?
Sure. I think Lore will need to stop sharing his.
Yep. All right. So here it is right now. It's pretty simple at the moment. You can see there's they're called packages. I don't know that we've got better language yet for it, but it's all very, very early and things are quickly changing. The code is up on GitHub. And so you can get to the code. The Artifact Hub is the org, Hub is the repository. The code that's up there, this is a single page app API, an API server that's powered by Postgres. And it's basically search. So if I come in here, I always use WordPress as my example because it's used everywhere.
Can you search for Falco?
I can. I actually have no idea how this will come up. Oh, we have Falco rules. So if I search for Falco, there's Falco rules. And I've never done this, by the way. I'm doing this on the fly. This is my first time. The Falco logo, I'm guessing, is to signify that this is a Falco rule. And then you can come in here oh, this is interesting. So this is the same information that is in the Cloud Native Security Hub as it stands today. So the way this works is the information is regularly updated from its root source via cron jobs that are running Kubernetes. And so it looks like it's displaying the same information that y'all have in the Cloud Native Security Hub, probably pulled from the exact same location.
So you're scraping us.
It looks like we're getting the configuration from there. We're not scraping the site. We are grabbing the configuration from the repo is what it looks like right now.
Okay. And do we know who added these?
It'd be in the
does
code.
it have like an owner, or like how did this appear on this website? Like, is there a script, or did somebody come copy this in, or I'm just wondering where this came from?
So, well, I'm here talking to folks on this stuff. And I know the gist of it because I'm trying to collect feedback. I don't know the answer to that question. That is a wonderful question. In fact, right now, so if you look in the URL, you see package, admin, activities. This needs to be, like I said, this is pre-alpha. This is all very early. We're giving lots of warnings. But if I were to go back here and go to the Helm chart instead, if you look at the URL, it says package, chart, stable. Stable is the person who registered it, and then Falco is the chart. So this is the Falco chart in the stable repository, and we know whose account owns stable, and you can see everything in stable. Obviously, the Falco rules don't have that at the moment. And I don't know why, but I'm going to take that one back. Thanks for catching this. You know, it's one of those things where you take something that's very early, pre-alpha, and you demo it, and you find some problems with it. I definitely see a problem with it because we don't have a nice, it doesn't say Falco in the path. I can't tell you who it is. This definitely needs to be cleaned up. It's probably work in progress that's going on, but I'll track it down so we can actually say who it is, because this should be able to say, hey, this is Falco's rules from the Cloud Native Security Hub. Here's how you can get back to their location. That all needs to be registered, just like it is with Helm stuff that we have already. And so I'll follow it up to make sure that gets cleaned up.
I have another question.
Definitely.
So since we don't know who added this rule, and you know, I made an account on this website, I was able to create arbitrary Helm charts. Would a user potentially be able to create an arbitrary Falco rule that lives here?
I don't know. Some of this was one of the things that I wanted to get feedback on, and I can't remember whether it was in the email or on the issue queue. But one of the things that I want to ask about was, what is your feeling on third parties having their own rules and sharing them? It's one of the things that has definitely happened on the operator side and in the Helm side, where you're sharing packages and companies want to manage their own flows. Is there a thing where a company would want to have their own rules, and what does the Falco community think about them sharing it? As long as it's got the company's logo, you can trace the provenance back to the company on there, and so people know they're getting their rules from there. Like Red Hat may want to put out their own set of rules for people to install and saying, hey, these are Red Hat. They're Red Hat supported, not Falco community supported, and you get them from us and you can see that. Because if that's the case, then this kind of thing would make sense for Falco rules. But really, we wanted to get your feeling and your opinion as a community on some of this stuff as it's being pieced together.
So I guess following history here, looking at, like earlier in the call, we talked about the build artifacts and how we're starting to look at what becomes officially supported artifacts and what is not. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of what we're finding in the wild right now is that there's people who have, you know, outside of the Falco ecosystem, who have created things like the Helm chart, for instance, that now people expect support from the Falco community for these artifacts. And so I guess if we were really clear about labeling, you know, if you wanted to scrape us and scrape the official rules, I think that's awesome. And if you wanted to host other third-party rules, I think that's great. But if we could just do something to label them unofficial, or, you know, not supported by Falco, or just be very clear that it's not a rule that we as a community have agreed to support, I think it would be really, really helpful for us and for the rest of the Falco maintainers and our end users, just to understand what is and isn't kind of in scope here. But otherwise, I think it's really great that you're working on driving some visibility here. But that's just my 2 cents. I don't know what other folks think.
Yeah, I do have one thought on what you had to say. with people coming in and asking for support on things you didn't do, I definitely feel that pain. I know Helm gets that all the time for Kubernetes with basic Kubernetes things. So as more and more people are picking up our foundational tools, at least they're coming to us with tons of questions that have nothing to do with it. They're even outside of anything we would even say we supported, which we clearly don't, and we have to point them to other places. So I definitely feel that support problem, and I imagine others are feeling that pressure too in other projects.
Okay.
Yeah, and in a general way, yeah, I feel like um, so a couple of thoughts. One is additional discoverability is great and great for the project. So I absolutely see that as a pro. The potential issue with aggregating things in a single place is exactly what you guys were saying. Typically, the Falco community tries maybe to curate stuff like rules, right? And do maybe CI/CD or some testing on these rules. So from one point of view, we absolutely want to incentivize our community to create their own rules. It's just very important that when people go and fetch, I don't know, a Falco rule for Apache, they are aware, this is being tested, curated by the maintainers or by 300 people versus this is a single guy that created this and never really tested it. And you don't go to the Falco community essentially to get support about this because they don't know anything about this, because otherwise this could create burden on stuff that the Falco active contributors didn't really create.
Yeah, and we don't want to have that burden. Ideally, Falco would grow in use, which would also help you grow in more maintainers.
Sure.
That's the ideal situation, but we don't want to put undue burden on you for things that you didn't put together.
Yeah, exactly. My comment was more like philosophical. Hopefully, I mean, it's not like we don't want to support stuff where, and you know better than me, when you're a community, by default, if somebody asks a question, you try to help them, and of course we hope for the resources to grow. It's just a matter of making sure that the burden stays under control, no matter what the size of resources you have.
Yeah. So if that was
and again, that can probably be solved by making it very clear in something like this, which to me, I associate it to a search engine. The source is clear, the author is clear, the type, of support, where it comes from, and the kind of stuff is clear,
Yeah, definitely. And I had not seen the Falco integration until today. And so when we get off this call, I'm going to be going to file some issues on the repository in order to get that stuff cleaned up. So it's just much more clear to folks on where the root is.
Can I make a small request?
Yes.
Until we've been able to address these issues, do you mind taking the Falco rules down?
I'll file an issue about it. It may be just as quick for them to pull this stuff down as it is otherwise. But yeah, I will definitely post that in the issue when that happens. I don't know that many people are coming through the site, although that's another thing that I need to get stuff on as well to see if anybody's actually using this yet, because we moved the domain a lot and not many people know where it is. But yeah, no, I can entirely understand that. And if for some reason something doesn't happen and you get a flood of support, please
that's a
track
good
me
problem
down.
to have.
It's a good problem to have, but I also don't want to burden y'all. So if something like that happens, feel free to come chase me down. I'm in CNCF Slack. I'm in Kubernetes Slack. I respond to my email. Come chase me down and I'll go chase folks down. The people who are working on this are in Europe, so I don't expect them to get to it today, but I will file the stuff.
Yeah. And so, yeah, again, this is, if we're lucky enough that people are coming through this to Falco, we're happy to chase you down. But in the future, I don't know if that's a scalable solution for our maintainers to be spending time, chasing people down. Cool. Anything else on this?
if nobody has any other comments, I just want to thank you all for your time and good luck.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leo, you're next.
What's the point next? Let me look.
Thanks to, I want to say Nietzsche for initial test cases of Client Go.
Yeah, she should be on the call. I just put the item there to say thanks a lot for spending time putting together an initial setup for tests about Client Go. I still need some time to complete the review of the PR, but if you want to talk a bit about it, you're welcome. Otherwise, just thanks.
Thank you. How do you say their name? Nitya?
Nithya.
Nitya?
Yeah. Thanks for reviewing. Please let me know if anything's confusing or unusual.
Was this your first PR to the Falco project?
It's my second. I made another PR to Falco CTL a couple weeks
Nice.
ago.
Well, welcome to the project. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything else on this one?
No, it will be probably merged as soon I have some spare time to look deeper at it. But it's at first sight, it is really well made. So in Italian we say brava. So thank you again.
Very good. Next, Lotte, I guess the Falco website in Japanese, that probably should have been a highlight for the week.
Yeah, this is very interesting that people are starting, translating Falco in many languages, like Japanese and Chinese. Chinese was actually discussed in the community where Japanese just arrived. So it's very nice. I cannot understand anything in this page. I don't even know where to click. But thanks, Takao, for doing it.
And it just looks better in Japanese.
It's very nice, yeah. Those
have
looks like smiling faces.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm getting feedback. Sorry, I don't know where that's coming from. Oh, it's right here. Okay, my question is, so I was actually just getting ready to open up a PR to the documentation around the same time that we announced that we have Japanese support. So how do we handle new documentation changes with the other languages?
That's a very good question, Chris.
Ideally, the person that created the translation should take ownership, so should be put into the owner's file, into the subdirectory for that language, so that as new PRs come in about that language, it gets by Poyana automatically called in to view them. Because, for example, when Chinese was added, I asked the help to a friend of mine that knows Chinese to review it, because, I mean, for me, they could have written whatever. And using Google Translate is not a good solution to maintain it. Thanks,
Leo. That's what I did for the Japanese PR.
I called I know my friend that knows the Chinese, and it's his work. So, but ideally, so to reply your answer, Chris, ideally we should contact these persons and ask them, first of all, thanks for the contribution. Would you mind becoming an owner of that part of the Falco documentation? Which means that if someone open a PRs, you will be pinged from our bot to review it.
Okay. I wanted to, kind of like I brought up earlier with the scope of the artifacts, I wanted to bring up just a thought that I had and see what folks think. Lotte, do you mind going to falco.org really quick? So right now, go to the documentation. Right now, our documentation is, we just merge PRs arbitrarily. And we've talked on a few calls in the past about having versioned docs in the same way that Kubernetes has a set of documentation that's specific to see right there on the top left, we have version 0.21. I'm wondering if now that our release process is it's more simplified and it's stronger and it's easier for us to cut a release, if we would like to also start doing documentation releases as well. And that way we can have versions married to specific languages. So we might have a Japanese translation of Falco, but it might only be for this recent version. And that way folks at least understand the documentation they're reading might be relevant to a specific version of Falco.
That's a very good idea. I endorse it.
Okay. Endorsement. Okay. On the next build call, we can talk more about this. But yeah, just a thought I had as I was looking at making a docs change yesterday.
Yeah, that's probably the only way to solve this, honestly, because also right now the documentation is it's very hard because you don't know if by merging some doc change you will interrupt the workflow or someone using another version. So it's needed even for the English. So yes.
Okay. When are we going to get Italian support?
Loris, you have the
Wait, what Loris? You guys are all Italian, so no Loris.
But you are the only one that lives in the United States, so you speak English better.
That's exactly the point. You guys are much better at Italian.
Such a politician.
But it's a good point, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and just thought we'll add it to our ongoing list of things to work on. Anything else on this one? Next,
I think
Leo. Oh, it looks like the same one. Falco website is now in Chinese.
And the last one, basically, the work that me and Lorenzo have been doing all these past basically month about Falco versions and about drivers. And now the Falco version is a completely different thing. It's not coupled anymore with the driver version. The driver version is basically the commit hash of the driver that we are using. And they are two separate things. So when we released the 0.21, we forgot that and we released it, but there was a bug that I fixed that in that PR. And the bug was in the Falco probe loader script, which also has been renamed to Falco driver loader to be correct, depending on our branding guidelines. And that's it, just a bunch of bash fixes. And because basically when people was starting Falco, the kernel module was the script was going to look for the kernel module in a directory called user source Falco -Falco version, and not now it is Falco -driver version. Because that directory contains the driver, not Falco.
Okay.
And we completed just in time.
Just in time. Anything else? We have about 5 minutes left.
Grasso, do you have something? Leo?
No news. Actually, I'm working on Falco CTL. I'm trying to fix some small bugs, and also I will integrate driver kit into Falco CTL. By the way, if someone wants to help.
I remember that you talked to me about some in reality, some actually good work about TLS refactoring. If you want to update us on that.
Yeah, oh yes. I made a PR. I think it's not yet approved by you. Basically, I removed external dependencies on OpenSSL that was not updated since 2 years, I think. And with this PR, I just used the crypto package included into Golang. So we don't have the need of these external dependencies. And this solved also the Go releaser issue, because Go releaser doesn't support CGO, cross-Go, and that external dependencies needed. We go. That's it.
Thank you. Because that unblocks the releases. It was like a pain in the yes.
Yeah. By the way, have you tested the PR?
Not yet. I'm working on a bunch of other things right now. Give me some time, Leo. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Leo, if you want to, Grasso, if you want to pair it later today on Falco CTL, I'm happy to take a look or help out, and I have some free time. Well, not free time. I have non-free time where I'm stuck at home, so I'm happy to write some Go if it would help out the project.
Okay.
Why there are two Chris Nova in the calls?
Because I'm on my phone from these headphones.
This is dangerous. Two Chris Nova.
Yes, I can make 3 if we want.
Okay. Next call. Who will be the master of ceremony of the next call?
Sounds like you're volunteering, Leo.
Nope, I was asking. No one. Spencer, Nestor.
Yeah, I can do it again.
Okay. Thank you, Spencer.
No problem.
Okay, I'll open up a PR, and I have in my local checkout of Falco, I have the release update from last week that I had signed up to do. I'll try to get on that as well when I PR the notes from this week. Cool. Going once, twice. See everybody next week.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.